What's up, everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to give you my thoughts after owning it for a couple of months on the Lost Vape Orion Q. So stay tuned. My name's Oz, and I am a quitter. So when I first decided to go back to vaping and quit smoking for good, it was just a couple of months ago. Okay, I'm an experienced vapor. I went through two pretty long stints of vaping in the past. But a couple months ago, I made the decision that I was going to quit for good. And so I was doing a lot of research, and I found out about salt nicotine. It's a relatively new thing that wasn't around the last time I was vaping. And I decided that I wanted to try a pod system to really give myself a good shot to get a high nicotine level and get off the cigarettes. So I did a ton of research about pod systems. And every video I watched, everybody was like, the Orion Q is the best pod system. It's so well built. It's such a great system. So I went and got the Orion Q. Okay, and I will say that this device is very well built. It's weighty in the hand, it's good sized, it looks nice, it doesn't look all dumb like a lot of them do. And it seemed like a really good decision at the time. Now, this isn't a traditional review where I'm going to show you the packaging and how everything works on the device. I'm just going to talk about my experience with this device because I don't think that a lot of people out there have really done that from the videos that I've seen. In the forums and stuff, you can find some information about it, but in a lot of ways, most of the reviews seem to be by people who were sent the devices for free and stuff like that. And I feel like they're a little bit biased, or maybe they haven't really given the device a month or two of use to see what they thought about it. So, like I say, it's well built. It looks really nice. It's weighty in the hand. The construction is really good on this device. But I got to be honest with you, it's for the trash. This device is trash. I mean, it's built really good. It looks really nice. It gives the appearance of a really good device. And in truth, the mod itself, it functions really well. I mean, it's got a really small battery life, way too small for me, for somebody that uses nicotine and vapes as heavily as I do. But that's neither here nor there. The problem with this device is these pods, okay? They're trash. I mean, they're trash. The flavor is okay. I mean, the flavor is okay. The problem is that they're harsh. They're harsh as hell. I mean, I've got in here a 35 milligram banana from Pop Clouds. Let's just see how she vapes. So it chucks off a little bit of vapor, and the flavor is not too bad on it. I mean, it's just something about the airflow and the way that the air travels down and into the coil or something that allows the vapor to get harsh before it gets into your mouth, in my opinion. Also, a lot of vapor gets stuck in this chamber, and so number one, you have to push the button 2 or 3 times the duration of the puff that you want to get. If you just take a puff off of it when you push the button, you're getting nothing, okay? And you see, I don't know if you can see that, but it holds vapor in there after, and that can become harsh. My cat's having a fit over here. So when you take a hit off this device, you really got to prime it a lot to get a good hit off of it. So if you notice, I held that button down for about 3 times as long as I actually puffed on the device. So that has a negative effect on your battery life, okay? I'm a heavy vapor, even with this Salt Nic, and this is only a 35 milligram, and it does tend to make me cough, especially in the mornings. and stuff, it's really harsh on the throat. Even with the 35, I can only imagine what it would be like with a 50. I just can't recommend this. Salt Nic and these pod devices, in my opinion, are things that are meant to get cigarette smokers off of the cigarettes. And if you just imagine for a moment that you're a smoker who has not vaped, and you go buy a device like this, thinking that it's going to get you off the cigarettes, and you put some salt nicotine in it. And when you start puffing on it, every second or third puff, it makes you cough out your ass. You're not going to have a very good experience, and you're probably not going to quit smoking. And you're probably going to set this device down and decide that this is not for you. So I am of the opinion that you should stay away from this device. If you're already a vapor and you want to have it because you like it or whatever, then maybe you might want to just grab one. But for somebody who's new to smoking and wants to get into Salt Nic, and new to vaping and wants to get into Salt Nic and get off the cigarettes, this is not, in my opinion, the device for you. Another thing, let's just talk about these pods a little bit. So the design is such that the airflow travels down a channel, and then the airflow comes in and goes down a channel and then back up towards your mouth. And I think that what the problem is that the vapor is lingering for too long and getting stale. Or I don't know if you've ever used a water pipe and you leave a little bit of smoke in there and then you take a hit off of it, it'll make you cough. And that's the same kind of concept. Not only does the vapor get a little stale before it gets in there and make it more harsh, but also it tends to leave vapor inside of that chamber after you take a hit off of it. And if you don't clear that, then that next one is going to make you cough for sure. And I'll show you what I mean. So now after I do that, I can go back and do this. If you see, there's just that tiniest bit of vapor that stays in there that you really have to clear out. And the hit is just really harsh on the throat. I mean, once you kind of get the coil ramped up and get it going, it gets a little smoother. But especially those, see, it's tickling my throat, even still. But yeah, I don't like it. The coils also, they don't wick very well. I mean, when you are using Salt Nic in there, it's not quite so bad, but then I decided that it felt really harsh, and at first I thought it was because it was the Salt Nic, and I went to put some 6 milligram in here of freebase nicotine, and it wouldn't really wick that very well. It's not fantastic wicking even with the 50-50 of the Salt Nic, but you put a 70-30 in here and it's hard to get it to wick. And what you kind of have to find yourself doing is playing with it all the time. So you're unscrewing this to let a bubble come up, and then you do this, and then you try to get some to pull through, and then you get a little bit of gurgling, and then a couple of hits, then you get 3 or 4 hits that are good. Now, if you don't vape a whole lot and you just take a few hits and set it down for 10 minutes or something, or whatever, then that's not going to be an issue for you. But for somebody like me, I will sit there and just chain vape on it, and this thing just will not keep up. I mean, it doesn't keep up right. The longevity of these is not very great either. If you go around and instead of looking on YouTube and look on some forums, you will find forum posts with people just trashing this coil, and they're right. It doesn't wick very well. The airflow is kind of janky. It's just all around a bad design on the coil, in my opinion. It doesn't leak. There are pros to it, but it just, in my opinion, is not the device that you want to quit smoking. Get you a different pod device. I haven't used a whole lot of pod devices, but if you're dead set on a pod device, there are good pod devices out there. One of the things that I think that is going to, they say that pod devices are very disposable, that you're going to get one, and then in a couple of months, it's not going to be enough, and you're going to graduate up to something better. So in my opinion, you should graduate up to something better right off the bat. If you want the high nicotine and you use Salt Nic, get you something like this Nicotine Slide, ZLIDE, or the Nicotine Zenith or something like that. This is a mouth to lung setup, and it takes a what's called a Plex 3D mesh coil, and it's a low wattage device. I have Salt Nic in here now, and it's 16 watts. And you see the difference between the two. You know, I mean, this is 15 watts, 16 watts. I've got it out right now with Salt Nic. And it's a fantastic experience. It does take these coils in particular. I'll do a review on this at another time. It does take these coils a bit to ramp up and to get wicked well and stuff. But overall, I would recommend something like this Slide tank over a pod system to just right off the bat. I mean, if you they have like a kit that's like the Chroma A and Zenith kit, which is basically, it's made by the same people. It's a little bit different in its form factor, but it uses the same coils. And you can get that kit for like 50 bucks. And, you know, I mean, I paid 30 for this and then 10 for another thing of coils. So you're looking at 40 for that. I mean, you know, you might as well get a kit. Because if you get the Chroma, you know, it's like a 2,000 mAh battery in there versus a 900 mAh battery in this, and you're vaping it around 15 watts, you know, that's going to give you some real battery life. Whereas this Orion, for somebody like me, you know, I get 2-3 hours out of it, you know, and I got to charge it. I have to charge this twice a day if it was the only device I was using. But you know, I really like this OBS Cube combo with the Slide or maybe the Zenith. And you could pick this combo up, not as a kit, for, you know, somewhere around 50, 60 bucks. It's more expensive than the Orion Q. But in the future, even if you get the Chroma Slide kit, you could just pop this off and get you another tank. And, you know, you're good to go. I mean, like I have this Freemax Twister. And most of the time what I do is I run this the Slide on this twister, and then I run my Fire Loop 2 from the twister on this cube, you know, and you can just mix and match and stuff like that when you're not doing a pod system. So, you know, if you want to start out with something that's more similar to a cigarette, that's like mouth to lung, you know, get yourself a Slide and a device. And, you know, this is going to satisfy you. You'll be able to use Salt Nic in it. And then when you're ready to upgrade, really all you're going to have to do, depending on what device you've gotten, is get a tank, and that will at least get you going on some sub-ohm vaping. So anyway, that's enough about these other devices. And that's my thoughts on the Orion Q. It's a good looking device, and the device itself functions well, even though it's got a really small battery. But the pods are for the trash, and this is the only pod you can use on it. So it basically renders the device for the trash. So stay away from the Orion Q. You know, again, get yourself something like the Slide or a mouth-to-lung Nautilus or the Zenith, some type of a mouth-to-lung. Use the term MTL, mouth-to-lung, to search for a tank. And, you know, that's going to allow you to do the Salt Nic. You just bump your wattages down, even if it's technically a sub-ohm coil. You're vaping at a lower wattage, and the amount of vapor is way less than when they say not to sub-ohm Nic salts. They're more talking about not taking hits like this. So that's sub-ohm vaping is what they call it. But in reality, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the fact that the tank itself is below 1 ohm. It more has to do with the fact that you're taking in these huge amounts of vapor, and you can't really do that with a 35 to 50 milligram juice. So find yourself a good little mouth-to-lung tank. Look into that Chroma A Zenith combo, or even like get yourself something like the OBS Cube and the Slide tank. And this is going to really give you the opportunity to get off of cigarettes with something that's not like harsh and and crazy and is going to like make you cough. Because the important thing is that you're getting a really good experience when you're trying to come off the cigarettes. It's less about finding something trendy and portable and whatever, and it's more about a good experience. And that's what we want to get people off the cigarettes. We don't just want to go with what's trendy. We want to go with something that's going to give you that satisfying experience to allow you to get off the cigarettes. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I'm Oz. Like, comment, subscribe. Help me get the channel going, and we'll see you on the next one.